In this session, I will be discussing about UNESCO, or the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. UNESCO is a specialized agency of the UN, and it is responsible for international cooperation in educational, science, culture and communication. UNESCO was formed after the Second World War, and UNESCO has contributed a lot in solving the problems of the lesser developed countries like illiteracy. UNESCO is widely known for designating World Heritage Sites such as Syria's Palmyra and the US Grand Canyon. UNESCO mainly has two governing bodies, the General Conference as well as the Executive Board. The General Conference consists of representatives of the UNESCO member states, and one peculiarity of the UNESCO General Conference is that each country has one vote irrespective of the size of that country or the financial contribution that country makes towards UNESCO. And this General Conference determines the general agenda of UNESCO. Then the other governing body is the Executive Board. Executive Board have 58 member countries which are elected by the General Conference. These elections basically are influenced by the diversity of cultures represented by a country, and its geographic origin is taken into consideration while getting an entry to the UNESCO Executive Board. Now recently, why UNESCO was frequently in news was due to US withdrawal. Earlier also US withdrew from UNESCO way back in 1984, accusing the UNESCO of having an anti-Western approach and claiming that UNESCO was financially irresponsible. Anyway, later US rejoined the UNESCO during the time of the Bush administration. The rift between US and UNESCO was further strengthened in 2011 when UNESCO accorded full membership for Palestine. And due to that, US blocked all sort of funding to UNESCO, and this was mainly due to the fact that US has a congressional legislation stating that the US government should not provide any funding to any UN agency which accords full membership to Palestinians. And due to that, US not paying dues to UNESCO, in 2013 US lost voting rights in UNESCO. And anyway, with the arrival of a Trump presidency in 2017, US finally decided to quit UNESCO, alleging that UNESCO has an anti-Israel bias. But many analysts say the main rationale behind US leaving UNESCO was the huge dues that US should provide for UNESCO. And this withdrawal will be in effect from 31 December 2018. And seeing this US action, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the US action as a brave and moral decision. And Israel has often accused UNESCO of favoring Palestine and Palestinian World Heritage Sites and all. And Benjamin Netanyahu again described that UNESCO, instead of preserving history, is distorting history. And Israel again, it announced its decision to quit UNESCO following the US. So what is the way forward with respect to UNESCO? UNESCO's former Director General described US withdrawal from UNESCO as a loss to the United Nations family as well as loss for multilateralism. See, now what we can see in this peculiar action by United States is the Trump effect. The US President Trump has often been focused on an America First policy which puts the US economic and national interest above United States' commitment towards international organizations. And now due to this, the problem is that US is not at all committed towards multilateralism, and US is not at all committed towards various international organizations. And this huge vacuum created by US withdrawal from these kind of multilateral organizations could be exploited by an emerging superpower like China. And in the long term or in the long run, this will be diminishing US power significantly. And anyway, countries often try to politicalize these sort of cultural issues, and that is really affecting UNESCO. So we need to depoliticize UNESCO for improving international cooperation within UNESCO. Malala Yousafzai once famously said With guns you can kill terrorists, with education you can kill terrorism. And there lies the real importance of UNESCO. UNESCO is the United Nations agency which aims to fulfill educational and development goals like promoting sex education, literacy and equality for women. And that is what makes UNESCO really important on the global stage. At a time when extremists are increasingly targeting cultural property to destroy religions, states and nations. See, this is what we can see by Islamic State attacking various cultural sites in Palmyra in Syria and all. And when this sort of things are happening around the globe, protecting cultural heritage is inseparable from protecting human lives and preserving states. And that is one thing the world leaders needs to take into account when they try to politicize the UNESCO. Now recently one important development with respect to UNESCO was that India was recently re-elected as a member of the UNESCO's executive board, and this election basically it happened during the 39th session of the General Conference which was held in Paris, and this really strengthens the global position of India considering the fact that this executive board is the topmost decision making body of UNESCO. So that's all about UNESCO.